Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 244 of CryptoBiography, and it is part 11 of the Isle of Bronze. We left off the last episode with them finding out that the Assyrians had attacked Thebes and sent, and the Thebans had sent off Queen Callis and Theodora shortly before the attack, and this was all part of what had sort of set off the events starting our story. And King Nasramin was wondering, he did not know if Queen Callis had been informed of this yet. He didn't know if this information had come through his general's sources, or if the queen would have been, would be informed by other people on the same ship, let's say. And here we go. Yes, indeed, his general replied. The ship was sent directly after the victory to make sure the queen knew. Will they be asking her or Theodora to return home? I do not know. Did the king survive the siege? He did. What of Callis's other family? She must have many Theban family members who fought in the siege. That I cannot know. You're right, many of her family members would have been at risk. If some were smuggled out of the city to protect them, I do not know, nor what their fates were. Nasramin wondered about Callis's guardsmen who had died. She had kept her regal demeanor, but Nasramin had thought she had been shaken by that event. He had come to believe it was death coming so close to her, plus her own injuries. But perhaps also her guard had been a relative of some kind. If so, they had maintained the guard facade for the entirety of their visit. It would make sense for some or all of her guards to be in the family to help ensure their loyalty and her safety, on a journey far more dangerous than Nasramin had known. Join us for the morning meal tomorrow. We will give Callis the news, though she will have been informed by her people already by then, and see what transpires. As you wish, Mercedes said, and recognized that he was being dismissed. That morning, over flat cakes and fruit, and away from their children, Mercedes told Callis what he knew, though he made no mention of exactly how he knew. Thank you, General, Callis said when he was done. Mercedes, out of politeness, finished his meal and asked his leave. When he had gone, Callis said to Nasramin, I thank you for your information. As you must suspect, I learned this all from my own people last night. And more, I'm sure. Callis nodded. Does this change your plans? Will you or Theodora need to return to Thebes? We have not yet decided, she replied. I will be glad to help you, whatever your decision. And if for any reason you cannot take one of your ships back, I will make sure one of mine becomes available to you. Again, thank you. Nasramin was struck by a thought. For a moment he hesitated to ask, but then he decided he should. If the Assyrians learn you and Theodora are here, will they come after you? Callis paused, and Nasramin could tell she had not yet thought of that herself. Limus was famous for never having been successfully invaded since the tin had been discovered. Let me be clear. You are my guest. If they come after you here, we will defend you, even if it means war. And I'm not using history to underestimate the danger. If an army lands here with iron weapons and armor, we will be in trouble. Callis didn't say anything for some time. Then, speaking deliberately, she said, Thank you, King Nasramin. You have helped me make my decision. Though you have never given reason for me to doubt you, long experience with foreign powers made me fear for my safety and my daughter's. And now I know she can be here without me in safety. Given the events at Thebes, I feel I must return to aid my husband, my family, my people. But I will leave Theodora here with your blessing, and if she is chosen to be Shugo's wife, and likely future queen alongside him, all the better. If not, she will learn from people of quality. If that is your wish, I will gladly honor it, Nasramin replied. Do you wish to return quickly? If so, how may we aid you? Let me think on that. I am sure I will return on our ship that gave me the news. but the crew will need some time to recuperate. We will have plenty of time to prepare. Certainly, Nasramin said. They finished eating, with Callus clearly lost in thought, saying nothing. She thanked them for the meal and was about to leave, which would... Okay. We know Mercelia left, so... Which would leave Nasramin with Mawaya. She thanked them for the meal and was about to leave, which would leave Nasramin with Mawaya. May I ask something? Nasramin asked her. Of course. What? May we talk with more of the people from your ship? I'd like to get as much information as I can about the Assyrians. Yes, and I'll spread the word among my people to cooperate. Thank you, Queen Callus. She nodded and left. Nasramin called Mercelia back and let him know what had transpired. Give her anything she asks for, Nasramin said. Within reason? Mercelia asked. Nothing she asks for is unreasonable, Nasramin said. Mercelia nodded. The next few days felt very strange to Nasramin. He had Mercelia talk with nearly everyone who had come on the ship from Thebes, and he himself sat in on some of the conversations. Though they heard many stories of tragedy and bravery, hope and despair, it added little to their knowledge in terms of their position in the world and what was happening to it. Despite this, he was moved more than once hearing a sailor or warrior discuss his family being massacred or the Assyrians being pushed back by brute force or some cleverness. Queen Callus asked for very little, but Nasramin decided he was going to ensure her safety on the travels home. He was going to have 3 of his ships escort hers and make sure they had good weapons and men aboard, plus foodstuffs. They could spare them. It was not clear from the reports if famine was widespread, but Nasramin knew the histories well, and famine follows war like an obedient dog follows his master. There had been more than 800 years since the last successful invasion of Limos. His people had become well off and healthy. They had maintained enough protection to fend off the few attacks that came, and the reputation for their island as a fortress had become legend across the Mediterranean. But now iron was in the hands of common soldiers of foreign powers, and all he wanted was to keep his people safe. Whether this gesture towards Thebes and his good treatment of their queen and princess would be enough to secure an alliance after their centuries of isolationism, he did not know. He had at least cordial relations with many powers, if for no other reason that they had wanted their tin and bronze. He called Mercelia and explained his thinking. Spies are not enough. We need to send emissaries to everyone. We need real alliances before we are attacked by a major iron-bearing power. When the word gets out that we are seeking alliances, they will think us weak. We are weak. Let us shore up our weaknesses before others realize it too. I will need many ships to send our emissaries out, and if we are seen as weak, there could be an attack of opportunity. Then let us also shore up our defenses. Mercelia nodded. There are a few things we can do on land, but I think it is more important that we start building ships. I agree. But we have few shipwrights. We will have to have our current ones teach more. It will be done, my king. And that's the end of the story for this week. I hope you're enjoying it. If you have questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, and thank you for listening. Words and music, copyright 2022, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.